Hi everyone. Today I have with me Miss Namita Kalra, and let me just introduce you to her. So did a bachelor's from NIT Uttarakhand, bachelor's in computer science, and then she gave GATE and got All India Rank 1, achieved All India Rank 1 in GATE 2018, and did her master's from IIT Bombay in computer science as well. She's been working with Google as a software developer, previously as software developer 2 and now as software developer 3. So hi Namita, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Himanshu. I noticed that you have seen my LinkedIn profile quite thoroughly.
Yeah, yeah. So there's still a lot to gain from this conversation because your LinkedIn profile isn't that verbose. So we hope to get more with this conversation.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I need
let's
to work on
start.
it.
Yeah, let's start with your gate journey itself. How was it? What was it like? Why did you go for it? Please.
Okay. So, like you said, I did my bachelor's from NIT Uttarakhand, um, and I feel it is necessary to say that we were the first batch of NIT Uttarakhand.
Hmm.
It started in 2010, and that's when I joined there.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so being the first batch and also the mountainous regions the NIT is in,
Hmm.
there were very few guarantees of good companies coming there for placements or industry exposure and whatnot. No
Right.
seniors, of course, like I said.
Hmm.
So from minimum to zero guidance.
Hmm.
But then somehow we got placed. Very few people did that year
Hmm.
from our college. And of course, we did not get into our dream jobs or even close. But yeah, we took whatever we got because we
Right.
literally had no exposure to the industry around us. It was not around us at all.
Right.
So yeah, so I did work at some company. I don't think I've mentioned it on my LinkedIn profile, and I would like to keep it that way.
Hmm.
But anyway, so I worked there for a couple of years, but then I realized that I need to move on. Otherwise, I'll get stuck here, which is the motivation of, I think, most of the people who go for masters um,
Right.
in India because they
Hmm.
didn't land their dream job like I did.
Hmm.
Uh, so that was one motivation. The other was by that time I had come to know about things like very briefly about things like uh, data analysis, decision trees, concepts related to machine learning, so to say.
Mission.
So that
Okay.
I found that very interesting and very different from what we used to do in our bachelor's as well as in the company that I was working in, and I was
Right.
very fascinated by that. But then I
Hmm.
came to know about other fields wherein you can have specialization in systems, you can have specializations in theoretical computer science. So I thought I'll
Right.
give it a try. I'll see. But yeah, out of all of those, I found machine learning to be very interesting at that time. It was not
Hmm.
as, how do I say, not as exciting as it is today, but
Right.
still it had its spark even back then.
Right.
So yeah, for that reason, I just quit my job, and then I had some savings, so I thought I'll do good, even if I don't land a good college in the first attempt. Uh,
Right.
yeah, so that's why I went for coaching and then forget.
Hmm. So did you quit your job before you started, like you gave gate and got the result, or after the result you decided to quit your job? Was
No, no,
there
no,
simultaneous overlap?
no. I quit my job and then went for coaching in Made Easy.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
that was a conscious call actually, because I thought
Hmm.
if I keep my job, first of all, it's very difficult to manage between the two worlds. And then
Hmm.
even and if I don't quit, I won't give it 100%. That on a
100%.
personal note. Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's why, like, just to have that added motivation.
Yeah, not to have any question behind your back.
Yeah.
So let's then go to your MTech life as well, because you chose IIT Bombay over IISc, which most folks do. So any particular reason for that?
It is interesting that you mentioned most folks do prefer IIT Bombay over ISC because in my batch, very few people did. Most top rankers went to ISC and not to IITB. Deepak is one of them,
Yeah,
and many others. I think only quite a few, like if I talk about top 20 rankers, I think only 3 or 4 were there in IIT Bombay, rest went to ISC.
right.
Uh, so I don't think too many people prefer IITB over ISC.
Mm,
Now coming to the point that why I went for it, honestly, like other many other people in India, I didn't know much about ISC.
mm,
But then I had done some research after I got the result. Uh, So, like I said, I had some inclination already towards machine learning. Not that I was not open to exploring other branches, but I had slight fav-
incline
favorable
towards
chances of
machine
me
learning.
getting into machine learning. Yeah, so my basis of choosing ITB over ISC was simply based on which college has more professors working on ML or NL, specifically NLP stuff.
Yeah,
So I found Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya there in IIT Bombay.
at the moment.
And then there was Professor Ganesh Ramakrishnan, who was my guide
Right.
later on. And there was Professor Preeti Jyoti and several others. So I thought I might find not better, but varied projects there in IIT Bombay compared to IISc. That was the only reason.
Mm,
Having said that, I never felt that IIT Bombay is better compared to ISC or vice versa.
right.
So yeah, I that will be my answer.
Okay. So what was it like, the master's life? Because you already were from NIT, but as you said, it was a new NIT. So like, did you find it similar to your bachelor experience, or was it quite different from what you expected? What were the challenges?
It was drastically different from how my bachelor's life went. Um,
Okay.
but having said that, it was not unexpected because before obviously joining any of the top IITs, you do a little bit of research. You talk to the people who are already studying there, and that way you get to know
Mm,
about you get a certain idea of what life is about in IIT Bombay or any other IITs or ISC for that matter. So I had
right.
talked to a couple of folks. I had talked to people who had graduated from IIT Bombay, who had done their masters or were even doing PhDs there. So had an idea that it is going to be very different
Mm,
from at least what I did in my bachelor's in
mm,
terms of work pressure, the number of assignments, the complexity of assignments, um, and um and the level of teaching in general. Um,
right.
and I did witness all of that. Uh, the first semester, especially, was pretty challenging. And I've seen people joining IIT Bombay and then quitting to go for PSUs because for the sole reason
Mm,
that they could not handle the work pressure. So that was the kind of change that people do not usually expect, but then they have to face. So
right.
yeah, that not to scare anyone, but you should
Mm,
expect a certain increase in level of uh, expectations in every field there.
right. Yeah. So, just to like give a scale or give a proper measurement of that, because you are at the position where you can compare the amount of efforts you put during your gate time versus the amount of efforts that you had to put while you were in doing your master's. So, can you give some
Mhm.
kind of comparison, some measure of comparison for that?
Yeah, okay. Um, I don't know if people will believe it or not, but I did not work hard for GATE. Uh, all I did was, sorry, I mean, I don't want to boast or anything, but it is what it is. What I did was I attended all of the classes and then I just revised and did the worksheets. That's it. I never spent more than 4 or 5 hours outside classes
Mm,
um, during my GATE preparation. because I'll tell you why. Because I had never dreamt of getting an All India rank one, and I don't believe uh, in anyone hoping for that. Like if you say I'm
right,
preparing for getting an All India rank one, I personally I think you're hoping for a very bad target, so to say, because it has all the capacity of putting so much mental pressure on you that uh,
right,
it just reduces your chances. It will never increase your chances of getting there. So that was not my target. My only target was to get into a good IIT wherein I can pursue the course of my choice. So
right,
I had always kept that pressure low. And
mm,
with the kind of preparation I was doing, by just being regular and consistent and thorough in whatever I'm reading. It's not
mm,
like I've read 100% of the things. I've left certain parts of it, but then whatever
yeah,
I read, I made sure that I'm thorough in it. I understand all the fundamentals and basics right.
yeah,
Uh, and given that kind of preparation, I was pretty sure towards the end, after giving, of course, a lot of mock tests and full length tests and whatnot, I was
mm,
pretty sure that I'll get into a good IIT. And I was
yeah,
happy with that. So I won't say I worked hard for getting AR1, which
mm,
might sound contradictory to most of folks. But then, if I compare it to how hard I had to work after joining IIT Bombay,
mm,
I worked a lot harder there.
right,
Yeah, solely because of course you have all the help there. You have teachers who are passionate about teaching. You can always go to them after office hours, um, mm, like anytime. You can catch them on the campus and ask your doubts and whatnot. They'll be always willing to help.
mm,
But given the sheer amount of assignments and the complexity of each of the assignment, it is
mm,
invariably, how do I explain this? It is not possible that you yourself won't put that pressure on yourself. It is
right,
bound to happen to you. So it is a very important thing to do. Um uh, it is very difficult to explain because you have taken me back to my first semester where I was very confused about what to do with all of these assignments given simultaneously. But I would
right,
say that it is very important to manage your time there, because I know, I mean, everybody has this excitement of joining a good college finally, uh,
mm,
but then they lose track of time and they forget to manage their time well. That
right,
is something that should not happen. I mean, it is not like bachelor's where towards the end of the semester you'll be able to cover up everything and get good grades and pass to the next sem. It is not going to be like that. You have to be very consistent, very regular, and very, like I said, thorough in everything you
but it
do.
does sound kind
How,
of inevitable because you said you knew the kind of pressure that is going to be
yes.
put on you when you go to IIT Bombay or for that matter any top institute. But even though you knew, you still got that pressure on yourself, right? So it's kind of inevitable. We just have to go through it, right?
The pressure will be there, and you need to expect that. If you
Right.
didn't, you are going to fall harder. That's it.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. Okay. So after isolating a chunk of our audience after that, not
Oh my
not
God,
for
I'm so
AIR
sorry.
one. No, no, no. That's fine. That's like we want to know the true motivation that one has, right? So I also personally believe that getting a top rank shouldn't be the motivation. Yeah, top university definitely. Yeah, and when you said that I took you back to your first semester, let's stay there because I have this curious question
Mhm.
as a like what was the most like biggest challenge for you during that time, because you said pressure will be there but pressure can be quantized in a lot of manner, right? Assignment is one of those things, and peer pressure can also be there. So just
Mhm.
to not to be anything, not to give you anything specific, but can you give us something specific that uh, was the prime reason that you felt that pressure on you during that time?
Sure. Okay. So, master's is slightly different from bachelor's. I feel, in a way that it is not about passing one semester and going to the other. It is also about choosing what specialization you want to do. Will you be able to do it? Because um, first of all, you have to find a prof that is willing to take you, and
Yeah.
then that prof should have a project that is interesting to you. So all of those additional complexities are there, which is, I don't think it's that prevalent in bachelors for most people.
Mm, mm,
So during the first semester, you gotta perform well, you gotta cope up with the increased workload that you face, but you also have to plan for the next, not just the next semester, for your entire specialization. So that's the main
right.
that was the main difference for me in building up the pressure, because like I said, I had some inclination towards ML, but I was still open to exploring other streams. So in my first semester, I made it a point that I'll take at least one subject from each stream. Like I took one from systems. I took advanced algorithm, which is a huge part of theoretical computer science. I also took
Right.
fundamentals of machine learning, obviously, and then I took cryptography, advanced cryptography as well, because that's also
Mm,
one stream that you would want to explore. Uh,
mm,
and of course, I mean, automatically, for some reason, for me, I paid most attention to machine learning, and because
right.
I wanted to approach professors with that knowledge in my mind, and build something of my own, which I can showcase to those professors and get a spot
Mm,
under them. So that those are the kind of things that you have to plan yourself. Nobody is going to tell you that do this and then approach this professor and then take those projects and then do this and that. So that's not going to
mm,
happen. So there's a lot of planning involved, not just completing assignments and getting past one semester after the other. So
right.
yeah, you have to work out all of those things by yourself. So it is better to make up your mind a little bit, uh, and if that's not possible, the first semester becomes even more crucial, because it is not easy to tackle every stream simultaneously, and the goal towards the end of the semester is to come up with one stream that you are going to pursue further.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So there was this one question that we got in one of the previous interviews comment, and I'm really curious as to how you answer this. Somebody
Mhm.
asked if the courses are tough in IITs or IISc, and they are. So how does an average person cope up with it? So that is the question that somebody asked.
Okay. I won't call anybody an average person there, because you have already proved your metal by by showing that you are capable of joining that institute. So I think all it needs is consistency and hard work. All of you who are going to join IITs or ISCs are capable enough of handling everything that they're going to offer. You're made for that. If not you,
Mm,
who? I mean, I can't say. Uh, so of course everyone's capable, just that we don't realize that this is the time to do it. uh,
right.
like I've seen many people who are lost in the glory of their gate results for a long time before
Mm,
they realize that this is the time to work harder, if not
mm,
equally well. I think, like I said, be uh, expect difficulties for sure. Do not be negligent of those, and
right.
start working from the day one. I mean, I enjoy your life, of course. I mean, I've done tons of fun things in IIT Bombay, but it should be in your mind that you've got to be consistent all throughout the semester. And if you do that, I think you'll be fine. I am
Right.
not here to scare anyone. Our
Mm,
entire batch got through it. Everybody got placed in top companies. So I don't think anybody was average there. And
yeah.
so are you.
Mhm. So that talking about doing other things than studies at IT Bombay, that's a good segue to my next question, which is, other
Mhm.
than your studies, what else did you gain from your alma mater?
Okay. Uh, Another really exciting thing I felt about IIT Bombay was the fests. Um,
Mm,
and bachelor's folks there who are more enthusiastic about doing fun things. So every
Right.
time, every month, something or the other is happening there. And
Mm,
even if you're not able to participate in all of those, you can always make time to witness all of them. Very interested in dancing. That has been my hobby since bachelor's. So I did
mm,
join the dance club. I made sure I participate in one event at least per semester. Um,
right.
and the good thing about that was the practice sessions used to happen at night, uh,
Mm,
which means that you still have time to attend all of your classes and manage the practice sessions as well. So that's
right.
one good thing.
Mm,
The other thing is, even if you're not practicing, even if you're not participating in big events, there'll still be different things coming up, like the freshers. There's something called placement parties. So you got to perform for
right.
that as well. Those are also fun stuff, small scale. So you don't need to dedicate much of your time, but you still have fun in participating, and organizing is fun too.
Mm,
Other than that, there are some fun courses too, I'll tell you. Like there were people who took pottery as one of the course, and then
mm.
there's painting as well. All of those options are also available. If you have interest in pursuing them, that also can be taken, and that counts towards your grades as well. So added benefit.
So nothing for
Yeah.
non-creative people. Yeah.
Oh God, who is non-creative? Are you categorizing yourself as
Uh,
non-creative?
yeah, yeah. The world has categorized me that way, but okay.
No. There
So,
are tons of stuff for you folks as well. There are
right.
web committees, and then
Mm,
there are robotics clubs. There are several different things. Tech workshops are the most common things that are happening there. So I don't think
mm,
non-creative people, like you call them, uh,
mhm,
will be left alone. No, that's not going to happen.
right. Um, uh, a while ago, you said that because yeah, that is true that a lot of people have that motivation of getting their dream companies or at least something better for themselves that they got during their bachelor. That's why they go for master. But that
Sadly.
is not, yeah, but that is not the only approach to these top companies, right? Top product-based companies or whatever is their dream company.
Mhm.
We have seen success stories, or we do see success stories of people going to these companies without their masters. So um, why should one choose this path? Because masters is a tougher path. People might not realize this, but it is kind of a tougher path than preparing for those companies without master, because it's a 2 year commitment versus maybe some because mostly people take 6 months or a year or sometimes maybe 2 years to get to those companies. Typically, what we see on LinkedIn. So why should or why would one choose uh, this path rather than that?
Uh, from what I feel, I'll tell you why people do it. Um,
Mhm.
because some people perform well when they are put in a in a structured format. Like if
Right.
I tell you you have to prepare for gate, but you don't need to join any coaching because everything is there in the textbook. You prepare yourself, you give the exam, and then you'll certainly get good results. But then it is very
Mm.
difficult for you to manage all of those things by yourself. Um,
Right.
that is what I feel is one benefit of joining a course that provides placement at the end. Um,
Yeah.
of course, I've seen people who have who in my team only. I have people who had applied off campus for Google. They got selected, and those are really talented folks. They're not even from IITs, but I've seen the kind of talent they possess. So I'm not taking
Mm.
away from anyone, but it
Right.
just helps if you give it if you give your journey some sort of structure. At least it helps me. So that's why for the same reason, I went for a coaching when I was preparing for GATE, and for the same reason, I went to IIT Bombay. Um, but that was not the only reason for me. Like I said, I
Mm.
already wanted to work in something. I wanted to have a specialization in something, and I had not ruled out the possibility of even going for a PhD after that. So that was my
Right.
case. I had not ruled out anything. It's just that for people who specifically want to get into a good company, and that is why they're joining masters. Of course, for them there are other parts, like you said, preparing on their own, applying off
Mm,
campus, and then getting there. Um, for some of those people, it may help that it may help to get that structure in life. Um,
right.
and for others, of course, it works wonders and without
Yeah.
commitment.
So I'm curious now as to what you think. Like you said that you yourself were motivated for that reason to get a better job, right? So do you now think, looking back, that that was uh, right motivation? Of course, you had other motivation. You said that you had an inkling for machine learning as well, and other things, among other things. So,
Mhm.
if somebody has that prime motivation of go for getting better placement, is master still should be the preferred path? If not preferred, should be like within top two, top three.
Sorry, what do you mean by top two, top three? As in the motivation?
Yeah, motivation, like people have that dichotomy, should I go for masters or not? So is that a good motivation to go for masters when your motivation is just to get into a top product based company or something like that?
Okay, to be honest, professors they don't like this motivation because for them you are research students. You are there to do research on certain things, and if
Right,
possible, convert them to PhD, convert those research artifacts to PhD, and work on them longer. That's
right,
the motivation for professors there. uh, and
right,
it becomes very obvious to them when you are solely working for your placements.
right,
So I wouldn't say, if your sole goal is to uh, go for go for better placements, you I mean, in my opinion, you should give it a try without going for masters. If that doesn't help, of course you have a backup. but but yeah, I mean, I would never go for masters if that was my sole motivation.
yeah,
The better, I mean, the better way to approach this is that um, after completing your masters, there are other opportunities that open up for you, not just uh, a SWE role, not just a SWE role. Like there are research
mm,
roles. You can also PhD is a good option for people who want to go into academic professions. So
right,
for those things, masters is beneficial. But if you want to get a SWE role somewhere, you might as well
mm,
try on your own once,
right,
because it's not. It just needs some work which you didn't do in your bachelor's. But I'm sure everyone's capable of doing that.
yeah. So can we next talk about your placement experiences at IIT Bombay? What was that like?
Okay. Hmm. It's a funny story for me,
Mm,
because uh, so placements in IIT Bombay, as in the interviews, start on December 1st, and that is the your third semester. Mm,
right,
but then it becomes uh, third semester could become the most difficult part of your life in
mm,
masters, because you have to manage between the thesis work and of course your placement preps, all of those things.
right,
And that's the time you will feel that you have to decide for at least 2 months from now what is going to be your priority. uh,
right,
it, uh, that was the difficult part. But then once you are done with certain how do I say, when you are done with a considerable part of your preparation, things become repetitive. I'm talking about placement preps.
right,
That time you can again go back to investing more time on your thesis, because that's also a requirement. And um,
yeah,
no prof would like you to focus completely on placement preps and just throw away your thesis like it was nothing to you.
yeah,
So that's there. But then okay, so we used to do all of these coding practice on our own, and then um, And then it's not just coding practice, because there are certain specific roles that companies open up for master students, and you got to
Right.
prepare for those as well, depending upon your specialization. For example, I did prepare for um, machine learning profiles, ML engineers,
Mm.
and for that they'll have a coding round, of course, but then they'll also have another interview round wherein they'll be very specific about how good are you as far as your machine learning concepts are there. Mm,
Right.
the basics of it, not just your specialization, not just your project, but then other basic concepts related to the field. So all of those
Right.
things are there, and I had prepared for that better than I had prepared for um,
SD
competitive
roles.
coding.
Right.
Yeah. And that kind of helped for me during Microsoft's placement.
Mm.
So I got a role there. I got selected in Microsoft. I got selected in Google as well. Because for Google, they don't want to know anything about, I mean, at least in my case, they didn't want to know anything about the thesis I was doing. Of course,
Right.
they asked me to give a brief overview of the kind of project that I'm doing, but they didn't go deep into it. All they
Mm.
wanted was to evaluate how well can you perform as far as general coding is concerned. So
Right.
the 4 rounds that they had were purely coding and system design round. So that didn't
Mm.
require anything specific, so to say. Of course, the uh, I don't know about. So I had given interviews for only these two companies, Microsoft and
Mm.
Google, and I
Right.
didn't give for any other company. So it will not be fair for me to compare other companies, but I felt from the experience that I had with these two companies, the interviewers are very supportive. I mean, you'll never feel the pressure that you're interviewing for Google or for Microsoft. Uh, in fact, it becomes easier because, of course, the questions are tough, and but
Yeah.
they'll frame the questions in such a way, and the environment is so supportive that you feel like solving them. You'll feel
Mm.
motivated towards solving them. It didn't feel like a test to me, to be honest.
Right.
So yeah, I enjoyed interviewing for both the tech giants.
Mm.
I enjoyed interviewing with Microsoft as well. Whatever they seemed so interested in my thesis that I was myself having so much fun explaining my projects to them, and that way
Mm.
the interviews certainly turn into discussions at one point, and that's the good thing about interviewing with such experienced interviewers and such um, good interviewers, that you don't feel the
Right.
pressure of being tested at each and every step. It feels more natural. It feels more like a discussion, and you feel involved in that. It's not like they'll ask 10 questions and you have to give 10 answers and then you're done and then they'll decide your fate. It never felt like that.
Mm.
So I don't think people need to worry about that stage. They'll need to be more concerned about the preparation part of it. If you are prepared well enough,
Yeah.
uh, interviewers, I mean, sometimes it's luck, but then
Yeah.
yeah,
Mostly
don't
it's
feel
luck.
stressed about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was curious about is from whatever little recon I did on your LinkedIn page, and it proved to be very difficult because there's uh, quite less on your LinkedIn page. So
Yeah.
what I could find out was that you joined as SD2 directly, right? So was that by design? Did they come to did they offer SD2 roles only, or was there some special consideration for masters or special consideration in your case?
No, I don't think there was any special consideration. They were hiring for SDE2 roles only, and that's how the candidates were evaluated as well. Uh,
Right.
and to your other point, there is no distinction made between masters and bachelors as far as Google is concerned. For
Right.
Microsoft, they could make a distinction based on the kind of projects that they are going to undertake in near future. For
Mm.
example, let's say they have certain research projects in line, and they get some master's candidate who is already working on a similar problem. Then of course master's candidate is going to be preferred over some other um, some other candidates. But then that
Right.
is that. It all depends on the kind of roles they're hiring for, and not
Mm-hmm.
uh, and not on whether you are a master's student or a bachelor student. So
Right. Yeah.
everyone participates at the same platform for all of these companies.
Okay. So I'm like digging quite deep in this quantification thing, but again, it's kind of a quantification question only. Because what I want to know is how does your master's life compares with your professional life? Because both are like on par with the like it's the pinnacle of what you can expect in terms of education, IIT Bombay, in terms of work culture, in terms of placement, everything, Google, obviously. So how do these two lives compare for you?
Okay. Um, so I'll tell you what is similar between the two things and what's different.
Mhm.
As far as similarities are concerned, people are supportive as hell in both the places.
Right.
Um, I don't think I ever felt difficulty in reaching out to folks I had never talked to.
Mhm.
Um, that happened in ITB as well. There was no professor I saw that I couldn't reach out to and ask for help, or even projects, or uh, anything, even if they're not remotely connected to me. Um,
Right.
and the same thing I felt is there in Google as well. At
Right.
any point of time, you feel like having discussion with someone who has not connected with you before, or who is not even the same org as you. Um,
Mhm.
and let's say the discussion that you want to have is not going to help that person or you, but then you still want to discuss some things because you're curious about those stuff.
Yeah.
It is almost zero friction in doing that here.
Right.
Um, and people actually motivate this kind of behavior, where you go out and talk to folks, be curious about what they're doing, and get
Mhm.
insights, apply them to your projects at some point of time, because knowledge only helps. It is
Yeah.
not going to hamper anything that you're already doing. So that is one similarity that I found at both places. Super supportive folks, super supportive environment.
Right.
The other thing is, uh, uh, quality of work is appreciated more than quantity of work in both places.
Okay.
Um, let's say there was some prof in IITB who has given us 10 assignments, but then you're stuck at the first one itself, but you still want to do it with all your, how do I say, with all your capability. You can always reach
Mm.
out to the professor, talk to them, tell them that this is something that is bothering you, and because of this, you're not able to complete the rest of the assignment, because one becomes the prerequisite for the other. They'll go
Right.
to they'll go to end of the world to help you with the first assignment, so that you can move on to the others. Similar
Right.
things. um, so what I wanted to say from that is that they'll never want you to complete 10 assignments by copying it from others. They'll want you to
Mhm.
complete one on your own and then move forward, and they'll help you with it.
Mhm.
Similar thing is here as well. I have never felt the pressure of deadlines here,
Right.
as long as the stuff I'm working on is high quality work. There are natural reasons for not making progress as you expected if the quality of work is not up to the mark. I mean, you're not satisfied with it. For example, that happens in my case. I never advertise myself as multitasker. I'll say I'll focus on one thing. I'll do it in the best way possible that I can, and then I'll move
Right.
further. I can, of course, take something on the side just to balance, mm, mm, uh, how do I say, my work profile, because
Right.
sometimes you get bored as well doing the same thing all over again.
Mhm.
So for that sheer reason, I will take something on the side, but this is going to be my primary focus. and I'll make sure that I do good on both the stuff and before moving forward.
mm,
This is what I've been doing in Google as well, and it has proved beneficial to me. I won't want to do things hastily, but then prove uh, and then produce results which are not of good quality,
mm,
because that has its own disadvantages. I don't want to
mm.
break production for the entire world, because the
Yeah,
sheer amount of um,
massive repercussions.
right,
Yeah.
right. So that is also one thing that's common. With respect to differences, of course, uh, work life is more professional.
Mm,
Um, um, but as far as Google is concerned, you'll still find a good balance between professionalism and um fun things again, because
right,
because you have all sorts of facilities here. You can always
right,
um, spend time and play. There are
mm,
tons of things for you to play, like there's TT, there's pool, there's
mm,
football, cricket as well. So all of those things are there, and there is a music room, dedicated music room, and then there are dance workshops going every now and then. So all of those
right,
things are there. And then there are technical workshops. There are 20% projects that you can take up with some other team if that interests
mm,
you. So all of those things are there. Office. For me, work-life balance is not just about 8 hours in office and then I don't want to talk about work. It's about
right,
it's about being at a workplace wherein you don't feel the pressure of work. You do good quality work, but then you're also having fun there. It should not
yeah,
feel like a burden for me to get up every morning and then go to a workplace. That's not really an ideal place to be in.
mm,
So that's that. It's
right.
very cool.
Mm. So,
Yeah.
like you talked a lot about the affability and fun things at Google to do. It would be delirious of me to not ask you on the other side of that, the
Mhm.
technical aspect of that. What are some of the interesting problems? Because as you said, you are curious to explore different things at within Google itself. So you are in a good position to answer this. Like, what are some of the interesting problems without giving out any trade secrets or anything proprietary, of course, but some
Mhm.
interesting problems that Google is working in India. Or so what I would also like to append to that is the kind of work that you are specifically doing there as well. How does
Okay.
that connect to your master's learning or master's projects and everything?
Right. Okay. So I'll start from the beginning of my journey at Google. I joined as plain software developer. By plain, I mean no machine learning, because
Right.
that was the role profile that they were offering. And I took it up
Mm,
because I had inquired this thing about Google as well, like how easy it is to switch teams or get
mm,
projects that are uh, not according to your core profile in which you have joined. So
mm,
for all of these questions that I had in mind, because I didn't want to waste my masters at all.
mm,
Like I said,
right.
I didn't go for masters solely because I want to be a SWE at some top level company. That was not
Mm,
my only goal. So I had inquired about all of these things during the interview itself. And
right.
I got positive responses for almost all of them. And then I inquired different folks as well who were already working in Google. And from there, I came to know about the accessibility part of it, how accessible people are, how easily it is to take up 20% projects outside your team, and
Mm,
then how easy it is to switch teams within Google. Uh,
mm,
so all of those things were there. Uh, Hence, I joined as a software engineer in a software engineer profile. And for the first year,
right.
all I did was pure software engineering work. Um, Everything to do with the technology applications, with the revamps, with the servers, RPCs, all of those stuff that we used to do in our bachelors, lesser
Right.
in masters. So I did that for an entire year and a half. And then we moved on to a project which had more exposure to ML because
Mm.
uh, we as a team, I didn't switch teams at that time because I loved my team. Um, they were very fun folks. So we as a team moved on to a different product that had more machine learning exposure compared to what I was doing earlier. And that was
Right.
the good part about moving to a different product. Oh, I'll tell you that also happens quite frequently. It's not like if you're in a team, you'll always be working on one product all your life. It can certainly
Mm.
happen that that product can be handed over to some other team, and you as a team
Yeah.
can move on to work on a different product altogether. So that also happens, and that also opens
Right.
up a lot of opportunities for a different folks. Um,
Mm.
that happened in our case. So for some time, for year and a half, I did certain projects with on that product related to machine learning. After that, I decided maybe it's time for me to move, switch teams and move to a team that has more modern machine learning problems to solve. For example,
Right.
so recently I switched teams like 2 months ago and moved to a team which
Mhm.
was working on the generative AI part of the editor's suite. For
Okay.
example, by that I mean I don't know if folks have heard about it, but there are going to be a lot of generative AI powered features enabled in docs, sheets, slides. Um,
Right. Yeah.
it was all over Google I/O. It was
Yeah.
announced very widely and very passionately.
Yeah.
So I today I'm working in a team that is going to power that. That is already working on powering those features in the editor's suite. This
Right.
is particularly exciting for me because it is generative AI, it's
Mm.
NLP, it's LLM, everything that I did in my master's.
Right.
So my master's thesis was directly on language models, those language models that can perform well for Indian languages. So my master thesis was actually developing large language models that can work well with low resource languages. So that has direct connection to what I'm working on right now, and with more modern technologies like prompt engineering, prompt tuning,
Mm.
everything that's there in the purview of LLM. So
Right.
I find great, how do I say? Uh, but the knowledge that I gathered during my master's has helped me a lot in making this switch from a non-ML team to this core ML team. So that
Right.
has been a great booster for me.
Mm.
So yeah, if you really are passionate about your thesis, it is going to help you one day or the other, even after you're placed in a good company.
Right. So listen to
Yeah.
your professors as well.
Yes, for sure. I mean, those are the some of the best people you can find in India as far as
Yeah.
academics is concerned. So definitely make use of them. I mean, those are the best resources you can have.
And some of them are already like visiting scientists, visiting this researcher at different top product based companies as well. So that's
Exactly.
never, yeah,
That is like listening to your professors is never going to limit your possibilities, is what I feel.
yeah, yeah. So I think we have covered quite a good ground here. So
Mhm.
thank you for your time. One last question that because you I don't know if there is something that you are thinking about right now, but what are some future plans, professional future plans that you have?
For me, okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't rule out things easily. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, like earlier, PhD is still on my charts, but I'm not
Right.
committing to it right now because I, if I'm having fun in what I'm doing, I don't feel the need to do anything extra. But let's
Right.
say there comes a day wherein I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing intellectually or even uh, in terms of being at an ideal workplace. I would want to make a different plan about my life. Uh,
Mhm.
Having said that, a PhD is one option. Uh,
Right.
Moving to a different project, team, company are always other options. So
Mhm.
I mean, I don't limit myself to anything that I'm doing at any point of time. The
Right.
possibilities are endless, and one should make use of it. Uh, and when I'm saying that, I'm also thinking of I don't consider myself as someone who is going to work in a corporate culture for until retirement. That also is not planned. There could be a day wherein I might want to take up something of my own.
Right.
Um, and I do like teaching as well. So that also is another parameter to my life. Mm, I can always resort to that. So I mean, yeah, I'll figure something out. But for now, I'm having fun. As long as that is happening, I am where I am, and you can always find me here.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those are all my questions that I have for you. Thank you for answering them all in such wonderful way. I think the kind of insight
Mhm.
that you have provided is going to help a lot of people. And you did like isolate a few of our audience, but that's okay. We do have more. So yeah,
Okay,
and
can I ask one question if we are ending this? I
please do.
heard you. I heard you are going to join IITB this year.
Yeah,
What are
yeah.
your thoughts about it? Are you feeling less motivated after this interview? Did I scare you? I hope not.
No, you definitely not. Most of the things that I was thinking about were along the lines that uh, like coincide with your opinion because the one thing that I was really curious about, like you, how are you going to answer about what does an average person do? Was along the same lines that if you are already there, you are not going to be an average person. And
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than
yeah.
that, what I really confer with you on the thing about exploring different subjects, even if you do not, maybe are not going to pursue it, maybe professionally, but it's always good to explore, always have that advanced algorithm course, because that's on my purview as well. 602 is in my purview. So that is
Hmm.
their network cryptography, everything that you can explore. Why not?
Also, in our year, advanced algorithms was taught by Professor Ranade, who's a popular NPTEL lecturer. I thoroughly enjoyed those classes. I mean, yeah, I love some of the professors I found there. The way they
Uh,
teach, the way they help students. So yeah, make good use of all of those things. You're going to have a blast there.
yeah.
And let me know if you get stuck anywhere.
Only thing that's like currently my issue is managing the slots. There are some courses that I'm interested in that are in the same slot. I was somehow wishing that there was some way, but the seniors are like, no, you have to either choose one or drop both. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it will be in your best interest if you can restrict yourself to exploring 3 or 4 fields and not try to explore everything because that's not going to help you in any way. So
right,
try and jot down 2, 3 fields that you want to explore and give those fields your 100%.
sure.
That way you'll have a good middle ground as
Mm.
I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, and it's from your story as well. Like it did help you to get to Google as well because you were explorative enough. You could like even though you were targeting for machine learning roles, you could easily land a SD role as well when you wanted to.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So thank you, I guess. Thank you, Namita, for your time. Any closing thoughts? Anything that you would want to impart?
Okay, I think you have emphasized it enough that I have isolated a certain proportion of your audience. So I'll just
No, no.
reiterate that
Yeah,
I don't think there is anything to be scared of. The reason I said all of those things because it is better to know beforehand, just that, so that you're well prepared
yeah.
about it. That's it.
Mm,
I mean, I'm sure everyone can handle that. Uh, Most people suffer because they did not expect such things to happen. So yeah,
right.
chill. Life is all about chilling. Cool.
Okay.
Good to
Yeah,
talk to
so
you.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for your time. And yeah, wishing you all the best for your future as well.
Yeah, same. Make
Yeah,
us proud.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.